Hello, Julie here with Paisleys and Polka Dots, and I'm back with another video on how I paint the little flower garlands for our Flower Lane cottage, this cottage here. And you can wrap some garland around this little pole and then attach the flowers to it. So the flowers will come in 4 different sets. This is or 3 different sets, one for each month in the end. And this is the first set, and it'll have 4 different months in there. So 4 different flowers that I've designed for Priscilla and Chelsea of Stitching with the Housewife. So I am going to show you how I already have all of these painted here. So you get 5 of each flower, and some of them I have already painted, but I saved a few so that I can show you how I did all the detail work on these. Okay, so I went ahead and I base coated everything. And if you need base coating techniques, you can follow along with our base coating video that'll give you techniques on how to do that. But I actually used a smaller brush for these. I used this size brush here. I went around the outside edges of the pieces, and then I actually painted the tops of them using a sponge, a makeup sponge. So I saved these few and to show you how I did them. Now these little pieces of tape, what I use these for is on small pieces like this one here. I will take a piece of painter's tape and put it on my table or scrap piece of paper that I'm working on, and you can actually attach these so that when you're working you just can paint and these won't move on you. So just a good little technique or tip to hold everything in place while you're working on things. It's always helpful. So I'm going to leave that stuck there. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is I painted the I guess these are what's called pumpkin flowers, and I painted these with golden straw. All you do is dip your sponge just a little tiny bit like this into your paint. You might want to dab it off on your paper a little bit, and then if you want you can even tape them to your piece of tape like this and just start pouncing up and down. And it's really nice working on with a makeup sponge because it doesn't get all of the paint into the little crevices or the detail work that you see on the little flower piece that I have here. And it paints up really quickly. So there's one, and this is the other one. I'm going to show both of these because the bigger flowers on these have these little centerpieces, where the little flower on this one does not have a centerpiece. We're going to do the centers directly in the center of the flower. Okay, so that's all you do to it. So this one on the underneath side, these 2 pieces will layer together. All of the flowers layer together. So like on the poinsettia, this is the base, this is the middle here, and then you'll overlay the top centerpiece over the top like this. And then this one, you're going to have this yellow piece here, which I'm going to actually add another second coat. I'm going to use my heat gun to dry this real quick. Okay, so I'll add another coat, and as I'm painting all of these, I don't use the same sponge. You're going to want to use different sponges for each color. You can wash your sponges out in between and save them and use them over again, but you definitely want to use a different sponge for every color that you're going to paint your flowers with. And 2 coats is sufficient on these of paint. I put 2 coats of paint on the sides as well. Okay, so I'm done with that. I'm going to dry this real quick again. Okay. All right. So, and the colors are all listed on the instructions that I used for the different flowers here. So the pumpkin flower, and this you're just going to switch around, twirl it around and they do line up, so every one of them lines up. So you're going to want to keep flipping the flower around till you get to the right spot on the flower to align them. Okay, so let's see this one. And if they don't match up, then possibly you have painted the wrong side of the wood, which might be the case here. I surely did. See? So even I make mistakes. So we'll go ahead and we'll paint this. And I actually painted the front of this with my brush. I actually just, because I wanted the sides to still be yellow, so I painted the top part with my brush in white. You can use a sponge too, but I just held it in my hand and got really close to the edge. And you don't have to be too, it's not really going to show a whole lot, so you don't have to really be too precise with your painting on this. Okay, I'm going to dry this one. Heat guns work real well if you're just trying to be quick with your painting. Speeds up things quite a bit. Okay, so 2 coats on this will be good. So I have that all done. Okay, and now the way I did the centers, so once you have all your base coating done, you're going to want to take a fine grit piece of sandpaper and sand the tops of your pieces. So this one here, I don't know what this is called. Priscilla was the one who requested the different flowers. So this is a poinsettia. This is some kind of pumpkin flower. I think she called this one a snowdrop or snowberry. And then I can't remember the name of this one. I actually had to look them all up to know what she was talking about, because I am definitely not, I don't have a green thumb. So I had to look them all up. So, okay, so I went ahead and I sanded that one. I'm going to sand this one. Now on this little snowberry or snowdrop here, I went ahead and I painted all of the bases, all 5 of the bases with green. And then the white's going to layer over the top of that, just like this. Okay, so these 2 I'm already done with. I just needed to sand them. So I'm going to go ahead and sand the yellow one. And I'm just rubbing over the top of the entire piece. And you don't have to sand the bottom pieces, just the tops. Okay, there we go. And I already sanded my little white centerpiece here that is for the center of that. So the way I did the centers on, I'm going to do this one first. And the colors I used were, let's see, Georgia clay, a little bit of Georgia clay here. So I'm going to squirt that out on my palette, and a little bit of terracotta. Now you're going to want, for this one, you're going to want your paint to dry in between. I used the end of my paintbrush. For the smaller dots, I use what's called a stylus, like this, that's got 2 different ends. But for this one, I wanted the dots to be just a tad bit bigger, so I used the end of a paintbrush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my darkest color first, and I'm going to dip into my puddle of paint with the edge of my paintbrush, and I'm going to hold on to my, or actually put my piece on the tape here, and I'm just going to continue to dot different random dots. You don't want to keep them in line, just random sizes. So as you keep dotting onto your piece of wood, and you use the paint up, your dots are going to continue to be different sizes, like so, just like that. And I didn't do the stem, so I'm going to let that dry. I think I'll dry it with my heat gun. So now I'm going to dip into terracotta. The first color was Georgia clay. This one is terracotta, so I'm going to dip into this and then do the same thing. And I'm going to go over the tops of some of my other dots, not directly on top, but next to it, so that everything kind of will start to overlap each other. Some of the dots will start to overlap and fill in some of the spaces, because they're just supposed to look like a lot of berries. It's some kind of, well, like I said, I can't remember the name of it. I should have looked it up. But it's just a lot of little berries like on a branch. So, like fall berries. So there we go. So there's our second one. And let me show you a little closer so you can see it. So that's how that looks. They're just layered on top of each other, little tiny dots. Okay, and so then we're going to let that dry. And again, I'll do it with my heat gun so it makes it quicker. Okay, and then the last color we're going to use, and I still have some white paint out. Now you want to make sure that you are dipping into fresh puddles of paint. You don't want to have your paint dry at all. So if you need to add a new puddle of paint, you can do that. So I'm going to use, I want these dots to be a little bit smaller, so I think I'm going to use my stylus, and I am going to, again, dip into my puddle of paint, and then I'm going to start by adding some random dots, and as I move down or use up the paint, the dots are going to continue to be different sizes. Now I don't want to add as many white dots as say the other colors. I just want to add a few here and there, but if you like the white, you can add more however you prefer. I always say make it your own. So this one right here is all done. It's as easy as that. Okay, and you're going to do all 5 of them the same. So I'm going to set this one aside. Now we're going to dot the center of the poinsettia. Now when I actually glue this poinsettia together, I don't make it completely in the center. It's all on how you like it, but I don't center them. I kind of overlap them more like this. I don't know why. It's just preference. I just think they look a little bit more natural, I guess. So that's how I would glue these together, because I'm not going to actually glue my pieces together today because I want to take a picture of them separate for the instruction sheet. So I'm just going to show you how I put them together, and then I'm going to leave them apart. I'm actually not going to glue them. So the centers of the poinsettias, I just used plain white, used the end of my stylus here. So I'm going to dot down into the center of this, and I'm going to keep moving around in random little spots until I have it. So I only dipped in the paint one time for the center of this, and that was sufficient enough. Okay, so little tiny different dots into the center of that. And that's going to be the center of the poinsettia. Okay, so now for the pumpkin flower, the larger pumpkin flowers, as I said, have this little center. So for these, we're going to use spiced pumpkin and terracotta. So I'm going to pour out spiced pumpkin and terracotta, and then also a little bit of the yellow, which is golden straw. Okay, and I'm going to start with my darkest color. So I'm going to use my smallest end again, and I'm going to dip into the terracotta, and I am going to make little dots here and there onto the center of this little piece, like so. Wipe it off, wait for it to dry, which I'll use my heat gun, and then I'm going to dip into the spiced pumpkin, and I'm going to add dots right over the top of the other dots, or not directly over the top, but close to them, so that they kind of look like they're all overlapping. Okay, and then the last color we're going to use is the yellow, and we'll just add a few little dots of yellow in there as well. And that's all there is to that one. Okay, now and that's going to be for the larger flower. And then, like I said, these are going to get glued together like so, and then this will get glued into the center of that. Now this one, because the circles would have been, that little centerpiece would have been so tiny, they fall through the laser beds, so I didn't make a separate center for these. So you're just going to actually go ahead and dot the center of the actual flower piece. So I'm going to do the terracotta first, and you can put that on your little thing here to hold it in place. And again, I'm just making little tiny dots here and there. Wipe it off, dip into the orange. Let me dry this real quick. And as you're doing all 5 of the pieces together, they'll dry in between enough that you don't have to actually probably get a heat gun and dry them. Okay, there's the next color. And then we're going to add, oh, on this one, I didn't add the yellow because it was going directly on the yellow. For this one, I added just some little tiny dots of white here and there. Put one right there. Super simple, super quick and easy. Okay, so, and that's all there is to it. So you're going to glue all your little pieces together. The snowberries, like I said, they also line up, so you can see the green from the back side. Now some of them, as I said, if they don't line up, you might have painted the wrong side, or some of them are opposite. So as you can see, these two, that this little petal goes that way, this little petal goes that way. Okay, so you want to line up all the flowers. And I am not going to glue those ones together, but I am going to set this aside here, like I said, because I want to take pictures of those while they are separated for the instruction sheet. But in order to make the garland piece, what I did was I took a piece of garland. Now I bought a long garland strand from Amazon, and I can link that in the description below for you. But I cut a piece. I measured it. It's about 28 inches long. So I started at the top and I wrapped it from behind. It's kind of wrapped because it's wiry. So I kind of stuck it around the back side there, wrapped it behind the sign, and then actually put it through this part right here, the little scroll part. Okay, like so. And you can adjust it to your liking, but it's really easy with the wire in it to wrap it around. Okay, and then just continue to wrap it around the pole. If your garland was kind of flat, you can just kind of take it and run your fingers along it and fluff it up a little bit. And like I said, just keep wrapping it around the pole to how you like it. If it's too long, you can always cut it off. Now, since it's such a long, you get quite a bit. So I would just divide the garland in 12 different lengths. When you get the garland, after you purchase it, when it arrives, cut it into 12 different lengths, and that way you can make yourself a different garland for every single month. So what you're going to do is I would take some hot glue and just glue each of the flowers. Since these are already glued together, I would take and I would mix and match some of the big ones, and I would actually glue them directly to the garland with hot glue. So I think I'll take this other one. Now I gave you 5 of each one. You don't have to use all 5. Like 4 would be plenty, but you want to stagger them. Don't put them in a line. Just kind of stagger them on there and glue them directly on using the hot glue gun. So that's kind of like the look overall that it's going to give. Hope you can see that in the video, that it's far enough away. And then, you know, on your next month, do a whole new garland, cut yourself a new strand, and then glue the next flowers on. Like this one could go here. This little one here can go right here. It's not glued together, but you get the idea. This one can go up here, one up here. And also, you know, make sure you're changing the directions of them. You don't want them all to be going the same direction as well. Something like that. Okay, so super easy. They're not difficult to do. The one other thing that I did want to do to these that I kind of skipped over, I didn't show you, is once you have them all done, just for the yellow and the poinsettias, I think I want to do a little bit of splatter on these, just for some little added detail. So I think I'm going to do it to the poinsettia flowers and the pumpkin flowers. It won't really show on the snowberries, and with all the dots on the little stems there, I don't think it'll show too much. So I'm just going to do these ones right here. So in order to do that, let me get my palette back here. And I'm going to pour out a little bit of white paint. Use an old toothbrush, dip it in some water, and I'm going to water down the white paint, and then I'm going to use a paper towel to dab off most of that paint. The more you have in the toothbrush, the heavier the splatter is, and I like my splatter, especially for these little tiny flowers, to be very light. So I am going to test it right now on this piece of paper, and all I'm doing is rubbing my thumb across these bristles very lightly with a light hand. So I think I like that. So I'll test it on there. Let's get all these over here. I'll put these all on the paper here. Okay, and then I can splatter these. I can run a little bit of splatter across them just to give them a light little detail. So that's it for this first set of flowers for the flower garlands. And if you have any questions, you can add a comment in the box below or email me at info@paisleyandpolkadots.com, and I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.